contact with enemy troops. Task forces to your objectives.
Waitrough's tragic death is because he lives in a dysfunctional country, which will become even more dysfunctional. Waitrough's tragic death is because he lives in a dysfunctional country, which will become even more dysfunctional. Waitrough's tragic against Burnley on Sunday.
Yeah, so a lot of things happened on the last day, which is not always the situation that lasts hardly anything during the whole window, but yeah, I think that these most forces is us getting Alex on the line, pictures of the ship, everyone involved was so hard to get them done, and it's very important for our fans, or maybe for me, that's all within outputs.
The enemy insurgents gained control of the fight. Just lost control of the objective.
Back in for him. What chance do you feel there is that we can play in the next?
I think it would be a bit ridiculous if I'm going to deny that we were close to signing him. That is so out in the open that would be ridiculous. These things happen in football. It happens to our players maybe in the past as well, that they thought they were so close on signing somewhere else.
Lost that transport!
Things can happen. And for me, like to sign was
Mark the threat!
We were in when Kennedy was. Like I've said many times, if we can get the field to strengthen the team, the chance of market we never actually show what we try to do. But we played an outstanding game, and Joe came in 20 minutes before the end, Joe Gomez, and did outstanding as well. With us signing Giovanni Leone, who had his first international call-up, and Ryan and Waittrough that can play there, so it's not like
troops are advancing on Bravo 1.
Position anymore. It's just been, but not only for us, but also for him. Very straight and balanced, where he won the Charity Shield and the FA Cup with a very good manager as well. So let's see what the future brings for us.
You know, if we think in January and summer.
If I'm thinking anything, you know, what I'm thinking, I don't tell you, but the thing I think most about is Burnley at the moment.
Grenade!
With that in mind, how ready is Alexander Isak to play for you?
We are moving to attack Bravo 1.
Left Sweden against Moscow. I'm also going to ask you as well when you to see the way things and Newcastle kind of
Rescue coming!
If anything.
Swedish manager Jan Rolfsson deserves a big compliment because he gets one of the best, maybe the best striker in the world in, and he's played some very important games for the country, but understands that playing twice 90 minutes
We are about to attack Bravo 1.
and that's not always easy for
We just took an objective.
Just
secure sector Bravo.
That's not a player, and so he deserves a big compliment for that, and people treat Alex the same as they did, so don't expect him to be every single game 90 minutes on the pitch. That's definitely not going to happen. He missed not the pre-season, it's 3 or 4 months of team sessions, and so now we have to do a break with us playing so many games without getting training time. That's going to be a challenge for the side and not only for the opponents who side. So yeah, this is what we have to keep in mind. And what the fans have to keep in mind if they see that I think about like headshot one or like bring him in.
Down an enemy! Recargando!
Sometimes,
The enemy is focusing on Bravo 1.
So I think, yeah, after what the league up, everyone was really happy with it. And I don't know what's his life, my life, our jobs. And now we pay from us. And now we have Waittrough and stuff. So yeah. Yeah.
Tag the threat! I'm close!
Yes, now we hit the ground running and like Munich is a big compliment for all the staff and everyone in the field. So it's really well.
We have to regain control of the battle.
So that tells you how
Objective locked. We'll need to retake it.
it's one of the clubs and Harvey is in a very good place. Going to a very nice club with Aston Villa. I think it's in the interest of everyone. He didn't get the playing time he probably deserved for the quality player he is. It's sad that this was his club that he wanted to see his defense active inside and not playing so much when he was old. But it was definitely just on the club. So he deserves it. But big compliment that I know Paul, everybody talks about all but players like him were definitely also the reason why we win it, because he always was positive and at the end to play 5 or 10 minutes he helped the team and every session he did, and that is partly the success of the team that the ones that don't play that much have the right mindset, and I think he maybe went down showed yeah, that's something that's
Taking attack on Bravo 1. Watching your progress.
The core rights in your sports change games should
I'm out!
yes, I do feel, but that was the expansion. And the answer is no. Plus, in fact, the change the games around Joe with Dom and Joe.
Give me cover fire!
One for the reasons we all know, the other two that were sold. So yeah, that is what a club like Liverpool, what you probably could do in the past as well. This is normal at our club that we have multiple options and that we can change the game if necessary.
This weekend, relatively pleasure just have international team. Do you have a relatively new bill of health?
Our forces are moving to attack Bravo 1.
They are. Trained today for the first time with them. Lots of them on international to train. They were in 21s this week already. Jones, of course, very good in the last game. So,
Be on alert!
that's working. But I think the rest of the ball came back without a problem, and that is almost that's not always the situation, especially at the beginning of the season where everybody comes from different backgrounds. Go to the national team rotated and also play 2 games in 4 or 5 days, which is always the biggest risk in November and until March. They are much more used to that program. So we're happy that they are fit, and again, compliment not only for the Swedish manager but also for the others, because he wasn't like Ryan Graham only started 1 game and not all.
So, the old statement of most of the season, Scott Park has built a team with a reputation for being defensively solid. What do you expect this weekend? How important?
Defensively solid, but I don't give them enough credit in there. We can talk about that because we scored against some great team. So, team, yeah, like all the others,
Ordering a ranger here! Hurry up!
Headquarters receiving.
is when the team's down. So we gave it down, so
Hostile activity!
we have problems with administration, we have problems with custom, and we have problems with South Africa.
Our troops are advancing on Charlie 1.
We won it in the end phase of the game. So yeah, there's, we know that every game is difficult, and we have to make a lot to understand.
We're obviously very familiar with what Alexander Isak can do on the pitch, but from your interactions with him, what do you make of his characteristics as a person? Yeah, Newcastle he seemed very warm, isn't it? To be able to separate the
Seize the
emotion.
objective.
But
Keep us updated.
I think that's maybe an element of something to be used.
Yeah, maybe people don't believe me and maybe people just answer, but I haven't spoken to him that much.
Enemy back sighted!
To him after he signed because he had to go to the national team. And the way I 99% of the time treat my players through the international break is I leave
The enemy is just taking control of the engagement. Get it back.
for the manager that they're working with.
An objective is no
There,
longer
so
secure.
I text him maybe now once or twice.
Sector Charlie is just conquered by the enemy.
But I do have to get to know them as a person.
Watch out, my marker!
Lines is very important how someone is to because we have such a great culture here at this club. We mainly sign a player also for his qualities, and therefore I don't need to call him. We faced him a few times. I faced him a few times, and I don't know.
Grenade launch!
See that back.
Take me now, I'm out!
Support package ready to drop.
Arriba aquí! Ellie! Black the
What they did,
hostile!
I thought the ceremony very, very
Target is
impressive.
out!
But I understood the reason they were doing it.
Black enemy ranger!
I was watching. My relationship with all of them is very good. We can find out how good it is over the next year.
That's my marker! Stop!
I think that we help China very much, as you know, when they talk about freedom. I don't believe, maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that America and the United States acknowledge or something for China to get games. But
Need a ranger at my
perhaps always just
location!
Got it. Stay in
there was a sleight
contact.
of hand. I mean, I was very
Lost an
surprised. I
objective.
watched the speech last night.
They captured
President
Sector
Trump's a friend of
Bravo.
mine, but I thought that the United States should have been mentioned last night. Don't matter. Very, very much.
Today, let me share 1946. World
Need ammunition!
over at a huge part of the things. For years, Japan occupied dozens of
Enemy on
South China. Now, the world
Enemy's down!
today has few China.
Leave now, the fight is going!
How do you get there? The island are hundreds of miles from shore. The middle of a long,
Crisis light!
trying to take and destroyed by the long war. They have no ships capable of making the journey. They have the legal right to reclaim the territory and no way to reach the US. It was like having to lead to a bomb.
Need a final surge to give us a chance. Don't give up.
Enter an unlikely era. The United
Tango
States
here! Distance 200 meters!
had just fought side by side with Japan. That partnership didn't just end with the guns outside. During the war, they created
That's a hostile tank!
asset program for peace.
Striking the deck!
Like a neighbor lending defense to put out a fight. The US lent planes and ships to its allies to help them win the fight. Even
Hostile
the war
tank!
was over,
90 meters away from me!
was still
Our forces have taken an objective.
government offered
Sector
China
Alpha under
a
control.
lifeline, and we lent small fleets of warships. These weren't actual battleships.
Ordering a ranger
They
here!
were
Will assist
reliable
if able.
workforce, perfect for a long
Enemigo justo aquí! Distance! 110
They
meters!
stole the American flag. They and Chinese sailors on the Chinese beach. In the summer of 1946, 4 American warships sailed into a port in China. They were given new names for the fleet. Both imported ships, destroyer and war, were named
Sir!
Together, these 4 ships were christened the Advanced Fleet. The mission was clear and historic. Sail into the heart of South China
Seize the objective!
and restore Chinese control over the island. In late October, the 2 of the permanent sailors, the smooth nightfall, and then they headed to the southern tip of Hainan Island to prepare for the final day. That took time
Knocking down the enemy!
sailing the port to avoid the dangerous typhoon season. Finally, the fleet split up. Two ships returned to Waittrough Island. The other two, the Typhoon and Harper, pointed their boats further south towards the more remote tracking.
Objective captured and secure.
Imagine this scene.
Sector Bravo
The
is
day
now
that
secure.
sees a tiny speck of green appears on the horizon. For the crew of the Taiping, that speck was Ituava, the largest island in East Africa. They were all
Grenade leg!
The silence was broken only by the waves. There was no
Back the whole set!
sound
50
and
meters
light,
from me!
just the boats of the wind. They lowered small boats into the water, catching the boats in the spot. The boats
Almost
ran
dead! I'm
to
reloading!
onto the white
Losing
sand.
enemy signal!
Troops backed up. The islands were empty. The mission quickly shifted from military action to ceremony. On December 12, 1946, they gathered on the beach. They raised tiny spears. They fired a gun.
Grenade launch!
They had officially commemorate the ship that brought
We are securing objective Charlie 1.
the island, the other ships were the same in the Caribbean, leaving their name on the permanent state. This wasn't just
Fight your CPs!
after the
Send the Ranger!
weather station and then soldiers on the island. They made it
Vehicles all
that
out!
the world and object. The United States, which has provided the ships never heard
Allies engaging at Charlie 1.
Just
Just edged ahead of the enemy. Good job. Troops just captured Sector Charlie.
Everyone accepted that China was sent
Hostile armor on us!
right there on the world. Now this fact is crucial. The mission on American ships wasn't a secret invasion. It was the final critical step in global agreement. It was the world saying, the war is over and now it's time to think back where they belong. So, why don't we
90 meters from me!
well, because history moved on. But the cooperation between China and America that defined the World War II era soon vanished, replaced by the distrust of the Cold War. Allies became rivals. The story of shared mission in South China Sea was forgotten, marring after decades of army. Separating the over on those ships beyond the distance. The islands lay out in the switch of modern conflict. The context was lost. The story of the advanced fleet is more than a history lesson. It's a powerful reminder that the map of the world wasn't always this way.
Throwing grenade!
That history often more complicated than it seems. It's a story of the time when two very different nations worked together for a common goal. A time when two foreign ships braved and shared
Support drop available whenever you're ready.
of the world by returning several islands together. It's an experiment written in the game of the map, the sand of the far away island. So let me close with what's happening right now in the Suez organization. Just a couple of days ago, the military parade marking 80 years since Japan's surrender in World War II. Standing alongside leaders like Putin and Xi Jinping, Xi Jinping delivered a powerful message of national strength and unity. He thanked foreign governments and international friends for their support during the war, but notice he didn't mention the United States by name, even though Americans
Lost control of an objective. They have Sector Delta.
Now, this mission didn't go unnoticed. President Trump, watching the ceremony,
Looking for Ranger support!
Understood.
We reminded leaders that they prepared to save their lives throughout China's secure its freedom, explaining the betrayal. Trump's unprecedented on
She's alive!
on the uncertain amount of support and love.
Grenade launch!
Now, here's why it matters. Someone like me goes beyond speeches and military marches. They reflect deeper undercurrents of politics. A strong leadership way and countries can afford alternatives. Every day, starting to take on so whether or not the Save You America
Allies are securing objective Charlie 1.
it might have a more than a large nation, something that I want to share with you, and that's something that I didn't know. So,
Looking for order! Any other threats? East!
Lie about it. Followed. I think that was
Charlie 1 attack begun by our forces.
what the day was about.
Friendlies are now in control of the battle. Keep it up.
Today,
We now occupy sector Charlie.
Let's see what happens. That is what up to Trump is making a big thing about nothing.
Ah, thank you!
Yeah, thanks for watching. Again,
Support package ready to drop.
that I just wanted to share with you guys today. So I hope you thanks for watching. Bye.
What is up, my friends? It's Thursday evening. That's been Agenda News Questions, and you are all very welcome along. Over the course of this video, we're going to discuss Liverpool's odds to win the Champions League this season. Are they the favourites?
Grenade is live!
We'll be discussing the potential new deal soon for Arne Slot, Richard Hughes, and Michael Edwards. We'll talk about charges coming Chelsea's way, an Ajax wonderkid that Liverpool are looking at, and a couple of other interesting bits and pieces, including, was Lucho trying to do the dirty on Liverpool? The answer to that one more explained in a few minutes. So, ladies and gents, let's get stuck into it. As always, I want to know your thoughts. Do let me know in the comments section. Drop a like this video if you don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll be back tonight at 8:45 with the late night agenda. Until then, let's get cracking. Right. So, according to Opta, and we do love the old supercomputers, right? They've crunched the numbers, and here is the top 3 favourites for this season's Champions League, according to Opta. In third place, last year's winner, Paris Saint-Germain, with a 12% chance to win the Champions League. Second, well, the undeniable best team in Europe last season. I am, of course, talking about Miguel Arteta's Arsenal. I think that's no worth at this point anyway. They have a 16% chance to win the Champions League, according to Opta. But, top of the pile, number 1, your Reds, with a chance of 20.4%. So a 1 in 5 chance, basically, to win this season's Champions League. Let's hope that comes to fruition. Or why that might be important, actually, in a minute we'll talk about Florian Wirtz. Now, Team Top said that Liverpool and Manchester United are amongst a host of top clubs who are keeping an eye on Ajax's teenage wonder kid defender, Aaron Bowman. Now, is this another situation where we're going to watch and watch and watch for years and then not make a move? Well, truth is I don't know. Of course, we brought in Giovanni Leone, but we had looked at another Ajax defender this summer.
We are attacking Delta 1.
So keep an eye on that name, Aaron Bowman. See if he has a player in the future. Right, all Joyce has been writing about, well, the futures of Arne Slot, of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, and this is what he's had to say. The expectation is that future transfer window will not be as busy as this summer. Now look, that's okay. We don't understand that. It's an outlier of the window. Liverpool invested more than £4 million in the playing squad, and we didn't expect everyone to be that busy. But Paul went on to write that the contracts of Arne Slot, Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards all have 2 years left to run on them, and and will need to be addressed at some point in the coming months. This was a topic we discussed last night in the late night agenda, and good to see that it is now coming out into the debate point to see that these guys do need a new deal. I didn't know, to be honest with you, that Edmonton brought similar deals to Arne Slot, but I think we can say all three deserving of the contracts, especially the manager, who of course the club will want to tie down after winning the Premier League title in his first season. So there we are. The contract renewal should be hopefully in the works soon. Now, I mentioned Florian Wirtz a minute ago and tried to tie the Champions League. Again, sticking here with Paul Joyce, he said the Florian Wirtz guaranteed is only £100 million. Now, what would it take to get the 16 million add-ons triggered? Well, for those add-ons to be triggered, Liverpool will have to win either the Premier League or the Champions League 4 times. So I think we can all agree, if you're Florian Wirtz and Tiger the club, you win some combination of the Premier League and Champions League 4 times. Not to be concerned about that 16 million quid, because we will have earned a load of dough in the club and a load of success, and this would have been a win for everybody. So just to reiterate, 100 million of that is guaranteed, and the other £16 million would only be triggered if Liverpool win the Champions League or the Premier League, some combination 4 times. So let's just talk about it now. I would say for this transfer record, it was made up. Right, again, back to Chris Bassett, who's doubling down to say that Liverpool expect Mark Gay to join them next summer after a move this summer broke down. And we are going to see lots of stuff about the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, Manchester United, and the club's interested in Mark Gay. But Liverpool seem very confident that some of the journalists who cover the club that Mark Gay will be a Liverpool player at some point over the next year. Right, Lewis Steele, speaking about Canade and his future, he said, Canade has not communicated any desire to leave Liverpool at this stage, and the player has not yet fully made up his mind. I don't believe it. I'm sorry, I don't. I remember reading similar things about Trent. We all
Objective secured.
Again, if the offer of another contract from Canada has been turned down, and that would be free, I still don't believe he hasn't made up his mind. Lewis Steele is a very good journalist. I'm certainly not saying I don't believe Lewis Steele. I just don't believe that narrative. Maybe Canada's side have put that out there, but again, the proof of the pudding is we were close to a deal a few months ago, and 2 more offers have gone in since. How can we still be further away than ever? So, good to see that written down, but personally, and again, I look forward to reading what you guys think on this. I don't believe it. Now, I also said to you, I'm going to tell you guys about whether Luis Diaz did Liverpool dirty or not, and the answer is, he absolutely did. So, Sam Maguire wrote a piece about maybe 6 months ago, where we spoke about Liverpool trying to get Julian Alvarez as part of an exchange with Manchester City, which would have seen Luis Diaz go in the other direction. But this piece today from Chris Bascom, it sheds a little bit more light on the subject, and again, maybe it will take Diaz legacy at Liverpool. It certainly has to a degree in my mind, but let me explain to you to see where it comes from. So Chris writes, in summer 2024, Liverpool realised that Luis Diaz wanted to join Manchester City, so wanted to join our rivals, wanted to join the club that is the antithesis of everything Liverpool stands for, and the recruitment team proposed the club into the Etihad Stadium in exchange for Julian Alvarez, again backing up Sam Maguire's story that he wrote to say that this deal was what Liverpool tried to do. But Manchester City's reply was, we don't sell to rivals. It's Liverpool replied that he didn't do it. That's why Luis Diaz eventually ended up with Bayern Munich. So it looks like he wanted to wait for the club for quite a while. Like I said, go to Manchester City, I don't get it unless it's a money grab, which it surely has to have been. But one interesting, I guess, side note of this is Manchester City saying we don't sell to rivals, but they sold to Arsenal quite a few times, didn't they? Now Arsenal fans, I'll let you figure out what that means, but did they not see with rivals? Do they think that they're just a little pestery thing that's there to finish second? Not my words, by the way. I'm going to take that one up with Manchester City. Right, Transfer News Live with Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph will be talking about some charges between Chelsea as well. So the FA has charged Chelsea with 74 breaches of alleged agent regulation and third-party investments in players during the Roman Abramovich ownership era. Today, Matt Law said Chelsea are expecting a financial sanction to these 74 charges, roughly similar to the £8 million fine to different people from the UEFA. They are not expecting sporting sanctions
Got some
such as
momentum. Don't let up now.
at all. Telegraph. I said to you guys, I remember hearing the number, I think it was 17 million a week, or sorry, 17 million a season. Roman Abramovich was losing at Chelsea during his time there for, I don't know how long it was, 19 years. Some ridiculous number, I think, the hundreds of millions that they've lost. That money, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it ever had to be paid back, but it always felt like Chelsea were operating on a different intensity at that point. So that's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen, for now. Really interested to hear your thoughts on the Diaz situation, the contract with Florian Wirtz that has to have the 4 Premier League, Champions League titles to get that 16 million extra. Of course, the new contract for Arne Slot, Richard Hughes, and Michael Edwards, and anything else that I spoke about in this video. Look forward to catching up with you tonight at 8:45. Have a good one. Goodbye.
Good morning. Welcome to the Experience. We have on Urban View, we've been talking a lot about the nature of the news today, and as you can see from the title, we are going to be talking about political violence in light of what took place yesterday. Now, as some of these topics are just going to be used, I'm going to get to what I think is driving what a lot of people want to discuss.
Stay back, it's not safe.
Shout out to Jonah who will be extra effective today in the YouTube chat. We're not doing no troll shit today, okay? We're not doing no trolling. I don't own these airwaves, and we are not going to the penny about this topic today. Penny today, so my audience already, which people and penny in your Zoom chat. And if you were to look at my Zoom chats right now, they have a very different tone. They have a conversation about that today. They do that. I want to mess you out because I'm not trying to mess up a situation where we are building community here, trying to be effective on airways that we now own because we slipped up with the list. Okay, so
we've lost an objective. A hostile just secured sector Delta.
60 meters from my position. Lynchings were one of political violence, enslavement of African people for political violence. This law that suggested that black men could not be raped because white men wanted to be able to sexually assault them, to be divorced, and to have children that would enlarge their slave population. That was political violence. The idea that black men could be forced to, or they would be forced to engage in assault, and black men themselves would be self-defeating, that any of us would be all of that political violence. The idea that you would then, after the Civil War had been fought, or re-enslaved African people,
Crossing them out!
Political violence, political violence is what genocide rushing to the end of Americana. But political violence can be the mistake.
Leave a ranger on me!
Understood.
I'm going to talk about, but I want to first start with what happened yesterday over the side of Poland. I guess I'm reading from the New York Times because y'all know I love the newspapers. And what we see on
Our troops are advancing on Charlie 1.
I've been saying like that. What we see on the front page of the Financial Times is NATO planes down Russian road over Poland for large-scale provocation. Now, they talk about this way more extensively in my podcast episode. We out. So because this, my team, that's what things happened with the team. So I know yesterday was late in the shoot. I know that was my but basically, what we had yesterday, NATO fighter jets were shot down Russian drones that were flying over Polish airspace.
Ahead of the enemy. Good job.
In this article, where each of these countries are a part of an organization known as NATO stands for the North Atlantic Organization. It is basically a group of people that stand, like I said, in my pocket. You know, when you be on the playground and you got your group, they got their group. They got people, somebody in your group. But because they got people, somebody in your group, then y'all love y'all. So, it's one of those situations in NATO where it's like, if you got me for one of us, you got me for all of us. That's how this happened. You've never been in a situation where you did not have somebody because no friend, or they have no friend, all of a sudden everybody got me. That is how they are. It's like schoolyard, booking, assistance, but on an international scale. And NATO has this component of it that's called Article 5. Basically, Article 5 is what it is. It's 5, a provision known as number 5. But according to Article 5, if one person Russia is attacked in NATO. Everybody is attacked in NATO. So if one of us was always November when 9/11 took place, and we are today is September 11th. During after 9/11, America was able to get all of the rest of Europe and the European Union, basically, and other NATO countries to support what America was going to do because they said, hey, they got people with me, they got people with all of us. And that's basically how NATO operates. For those of you who are still who are victimized by the
Visual on enemy! Stop! Start the enemy fire team!
Where, like the secretaries, that's where the janitors who are also
Contact the Delta.
and so it is a tragic event, and that is how the members that in of itself is tragic. But that's what was happening internationally. According to the report, NATO fighter jets shot down Russian drones over Polish airspace for the first time, prompting the military of Mexico about the unprecedented violation of U.S. South territory. This is the nation that are called just in this area. Yesterday's operation a big Russian attack on Ukraine to non-NATO members involved Dutch and Polish fighter jets, while German eastern mission kilometer and an Italian early warning aircraft provided support. Now,
Training fast!
Anyway, the point is, America doesn't seem to be involved. Oh, but wait, I'm sorry, that's not true. Hold on. Donald Trump did tweet, or he put out on one of his social media outlets, he said, what's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go. And that seems to be the extent of what it is.
Hostile activity on my
Hey, no,
position!
no, you did it, girl. And so you can tell me they're going to help Russia.
Looking
Trump and
enemy!
and in Russia, I mean, Russia, the last thing was theirs, and it was technically theirs a couple of decades ago. I don't know what's to I don't know if you can rely on those United States. I'm going to go ahead and guess that you cannot, but I'm sure that I'm not surprised with that information. Oh, God, pray for those of us who are tracked as well. But again, we're talking about political violence. International political violence. And frankly, all of the problems, all
We just lost our advantage. We have to regain control of the battle. Objective lost. We'll need to retake it. We've captured Sector Charlie.
Stay alert! 300 meters away! Hostile activity! Tango spotted! Hostile zone jet! 150 meters! Attack! Hostile! Lead! Clear the hostile! Hold right! Reloading!
We are initiating an attack on Bravo 1.
Major seat! Northeast! Grenade on! Stay on guard! Take it look!
We are attacking Bravo 1. We have secured an objective. Sector Bravo is ours.
Male children to believe that picking up a gun and engaging in this sort of violence at school when you're only 16 years old is something wrong, and we got to figure out what that is. But they're going to figure it out because we're dealing with our own issues. And also, how
150 meters away!
but when it comes to mass violence of this sort, I don't think we all need to do something with respect to some things out. There was a bit of news yesterday, which again, we discussed on the podcast, if you want to hear, but the Dems also picked up the House seat story.
Grenade going in!
In March, actually, a Democratic Fairfax County Supervisor James Waittrough defeated Republicans who were recent easily on Tuesday. That race was called at 7:36.
Enemy exploding!
It was like 25% for the Republicans, 75% for the Democrats. I think it was like another Republican to lead House and what has been that the majority that the Republicans were in the House person. This is funny because now macroeconomic votes. It only was 2 votes for their not being passed the legislation. And once again, we have another example. There were 2 other seats races in the state of Florida a couple of weeks ago where everybody was running ran and the Democrats came out winning in these fields. So with every special election, we're seeing
The enemy is just taking control of the engagement.
taking and
Get it back.
sweeping these elections, which is a good thing, and that's why Missouri is doing what they're doing.
Enemy forces control.
She had redistricting the same way that Texas did. Now, in Missouri, they passed in the Missouri State House and the Senate, but they passed a provision that's going to allow them to draw maps that will basically annihilate a Democratic-controlled House seat. Republicans all across the country are doing the same thing. South Carolina is entering the effort. Florida. Again, there are a number of states in the Republican side that are doing everything they can to redraw their electoral maps to make it more difficult for the Democrats. But the only way that will work is if people don't come out to vote. So if you don't like what's happening, one of the things we can bring, one of the things is to come out to vote. See how much easier it is to vote.
Enemy infantry march!
Voting is really easy. In comparison to like, go to a meeting, having a meeting, it's like, oh, who's going to start? Who's going to be the first one to do it? Like, this is a lot for people to just get your ass up and go and vote and voting. And voting.
Enemy infantry! 110 meters! Enemy located!
Yesterday was that Charlie was the founder of Talking Points USA, which is an organization of right-wing, white nationalist, pro-racism organization.
Copy that, task force.
Yeah, pro-racism. I was talking about why do that? Well, just be honest. An organization that was really effective at going around college campuses and getting college students to essentially hear the Republican right-wing, white Christian nationalist and try to convince them this one really going to help you popularize that sort of public debate genre that people see a lot of. He does this, yes, but you don't know what that looks like. It's circle, debating, and that's basically what yesterday allowed people were experiencing in college and he heard everybody look at the video. But what was challenging about it is what was happening at the time that makes him life. He was shot in the middle of a question and answer sort of debate style, wherein he's blaming trans black people for the committing mass shootings and arguing that black people were
Our attack on Bravo 1 is underway.
Let us be clear that Charlie Kirk had a lot of
objective.
now control sector where people on the right were encouraged to move by the demons. He has argued that murdered George Floyd. Enemies out! It wasn't about white supremacists. He said things like Martin Luther King Jr. Was a mythological hoax and that he was an awful person. He said the 1964 civil rights action would never have been passed. He celebrated the end of Roe versus Wade. His 10-year-old daughter had been raped. She divorced him for being but one thing about Charlie Kirk is that he was a man of his word in a lot of ways. And he part of that speech, he said that briefly he thought that the word a certain number of these instances take place because it running for any available range. That is how we can ensure attention of this. So I just want you to hear what he said about the very thing that ended up in his life. And I'm going to take a listen to this speech where he's talking about the cost of gun deaths. Let's hear his own words.
So we be very clear that we're not going to get gun deaths to zero.
Attack on Charlie 1 initiated by our troops.
Significantly reduce that. For fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools. We should have a honest and clear with gun seriously gun violence. We said that up to people. You will never live in a society with armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun. That is nonsense. It's trivial. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have laws towards gun deaths so that we can have the Second Amendment protect other guns.
Now in control of the battle.
That
Keep
is
it up.
the deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete ultimate universe.
That part is true. We live in the ultimate universe, and nobody should be talking like that. And maybe the reality is we should have honesty. It doesn't seem to work. And maybe the reality is that other countries look at it and are thinking, why is it we've got television in these countries, we've got video games in these countries, how come we ain't got all this gun violence? They don't have guns. They don't have guns. And what's crazy about this is also what we need is that Republicans immediately began blaming Democrats for this. Now, let's be clear. This is an open air state. This event that he was speaking has been described as a pro-gun rally event. Something that Republicans really like. Republicans are instantly talking about Democrats' motives. Fucking weird. So Democrats are the ones who've been fighting for gun control. And this is why Republicans vote them for gun control. Because the Democrats usher in an assault weapons ban that was forms of gun control, gun violence control, this nation has ever seen. And then the Republicans refuse to allow that ban to be authorized. And we don't end the political party. In fact, this political party, the Republican political party, is
We're attacked out for what?
I know y'all might not believe this. I'm looking at USA Today. And in USA Today, I'm looking at an article from September of 2024. And you one Republican supports political violence if the election is compromised, like you said. Scroll down. There's the article. I'm going to highlight it for you. More than 1 in 4 Republicans and nearly 1 in 3 Republicans with a favorable view of President Donald Trump, they said former President, say political violence is acceptable. This study is not from Daniel Minner, it's from the Public Religion Research Institute, a nonprofit organization that found that only 1% of Americans generally support political violence, but the numbers are much higher among Republicans than Democrats. And this was a survey that came during the first election. You can see what took place January 6th of 2021. Now, this is not a partisan issue, says Robert Jones.
Securing Delta 1.
This is a Trump and letter issue. It's the kind of Trumpian takeover of the Republican Party. So you don't take my word that the Republican Party that is going to more likely to pay for political violence. That's what they say. That's what they say. They say that they are going to engage in I sent so much information on this site tonight to make up people horrific hurt murder, with conservatives specifically suggesting that all political violence and targeting to kill Democratic state representatives. So Portman wasn't just supporting months located and targeted the home of Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro, who wasn't Trump supporter. And then wanted to take my
Keep it up. The odds are with us.
Trump supporter. And targeted and killed the son of Obama, the Dutch scholars, who wasn't Trump supporter. And the man who tried to kidnap Nancy Pelosi, the assaulted her husband, who wasn't Trump supporter. And then trying to kidnap Democratic Governor Christian, who wasn't Trump supporter. The man who sent the bomb to the homes of Obama and Biden, who wasn't Trump supporter. So there is no equivalent or even similar of Obama or Biden's support.
See the results! Our troops have initiated an attack on Echo 1.
So we're not into one of those both sides situations like that. That's absolutely not going to happen. Because the end deal with that. And we should push back on Republicans who are trying to suggest this is a Democratic one. The Democrats should own this particular president. When we don't have any indication that that is the case. The one where they're looking at the But basically, they talk about how Jesse Waters, and that's the one, people think Jesse Waters clip. And Jesse Waters basically went immediately following what took place. If you guys remember this, excuse me, hear it. Jesse Waters, following his host, he immediately goes on air talking about the fact that this is something that he's never had no responsible for. While he finds a lot of other underground that he's saying that it's their own kind of chemical.
This is clear and safe. Less than 1 hour after conservative commentator Charlie Kirk's tragically puts to bed, Magna Fox News host Jesse Waters goes live on air with players. And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people as possible. Wait, that's what it wasn't. The Chiron at the bottom says Charlie Kirk assassin is still on the loose. At this very moment, if this, we don't know their ideology, the big assumption in your head. What reality is it? Millions of Americans, this rhetoric, it's very clear excitement. They want to see this.
Blasco's fine. No title needed.
Down the rhetoric because again, when somebody who disagrees with you is murdered like this, that can lead to somebody who agrees with you getting murdered like this. It is a catalyst for violence that then becomes a chain reaction.
Exactly. It creates a chain reaction, and that's one of the reasons why we need these airways, because we have to control how people are thinking. We're going to talk facts, we're going to talk about what happened, and we're going to have an honest dialogue about it, but this is never okay. It's just never, ever, ever okay. And as noted by Candace Bimbo, and this is an important point, because there are a lot of people out there within our community who have this weird desire to step in when you don't need to step in. Actually, like Candace Bimbo pointed out, she said, quote, seeing black men with fathers saying that they are used violently, shot. Seeing black women mourn the loss of someone called Sheila Jackson Lee Young, said black women like her Michelle Obama and Jackson. Black brain process.
Hostile! 200 meters!
My white people in the car. May God
We have majority control
so
of the
I
sector.
got a lot of curating of realities to do, and there is just one thing that left that I think we have to address today, and that is the fact that before we go to commercial break and I begin taking the calls, that is the fact that there is this desire, particularly in Black Christian realities, and I talk a lot to Black Christians because Black Christians are a sizable portion of the Black community, and there is this thing that happens where we are encouraged to believe more in the Christian side than in the race side, whereas white Christians are
Enemy
encouraged
forces have
to
taken a blow,
and
so keep coming.
and
Hostiles are trying to seize one of our objectives.
Possible hostile there!
Her name is Aaliyah Sheffield. I gotta make that correction. I want you all to take a listen. She's a singer who I only encountered her on Instagram. I think she's amazing. Her voice is phenomenal, and she has a lesson for us because we, people of melanin, often learn lessons better with music. I thought it would be appropriate for us to hear this lesson today. Let's listen to what
They've taken Sector Echo. We have secured most of the sectors. Defend them at all costs.
Enemy tac! 40 meters from my position! Hostile tac!
Support package ready. Call it when you're set. Allied troops securing altitude.
Hostile! 50 meters from me!
Sector Echo has been conquered by our forces.
Come on. And so, I think that as we continue to navigate our day, we need to, one, be very clear that you got to keep your head on the swivel right now. These sorts of incidences produce other sorts of incidences. I, for one, am not going to ever be in a position to use my airways and my platforms to encourage us to engage in certain acts that would be serious.
Hostile tag! Distance! 110 meters!
Why you still in the communities, I don't know, but that's where you're at. Just here that you watch how y'all get real problem on social media. You need to go talk to the dinos. This is the time for that. This ain't the time for you to be going into your public spaces and spouting off and saying things. You're going to end up having a conversation with HR. You're going to end up getting a visit from the FBI. You ain't going to like the outcomes of those things. So you're just going to have to eat your lunch. Doing the agency. There don't be doctors or the right doctor and it's a cheap ass spot that you can pop into with a body pin rent just the right way. Don't ask me how I know it. Don't tell me that I know that you. That's how I do it with the Kardashians. Just like
Getting attack on Alpha 1.
you need to be in your chat only with people that you trust, or you can be in your diary. What you don't need to be doing is popping off on social media because you're going to end up popping off in a situation that might land you with some spaces that you cannot quite navigate. We're going to go to commercial break. We're going to pause it there. 866-801-8255.
A lot of these runs would not have been finished if there had been
Distance 200 meters!
right? Like a lot of the times,
Area
people do something to their wives, and then they're not stopped, and they wind up killing their wives. But talk about the actual system, like how much time actually involved in either the smuggling itself, taking of drugs, the murder, and the cover-up. Like how involved are the special forces as a whole involved in the scandal, and also the higher-up elites?
There's
whittled them down to half
layers
strength.
at which you can cut it. If you cut it at the highest level of U.S. government, you can say that the White House, the State Department, the CIA, the GOP, the USAID,
We are engaging in
all
Bravo 1.
openly funded, armed, and protected the biggest drug cartel in world history in Afghanistan for 20 years.
Throwing
And
grenade!
caused the entire planet
Major
to play
stick, northwest!
heroin as a result of policy choices that were deliberately made under President Obama and President Trump. And also under President George W. Bush to initially partner with all of these drug traffickers to split up Afghanistan, made the government of Afghanistan out of its election of narco forces, and to allow music to grow poppy unheeded, to allow it to flourish to such an extraordinary to the point where they never let the narco state come out of Afghanistan. This was explicit U.S. policy here. And not explicit in the sense that it was stated, but in the sense that it was out in the open. For the most part, they never talked about it. And just counted on the media to lie to you and tell you this is out. Because that's how little they respect their intelligence. They can just tell you the opposite of the truth. Expect it.
An objective has been captured by enemy forces.
Word. Say that the U.S. clients are always very fun. No one ever just came out and said it. The U.S.
We have secured Sector Alpha. Almost every
What
sector
they're
is
trying to
under
say
our
now
control.
about
Keep it that way.
Maduro, Venezuela.
Allied troops targeting
What an
Bravo 1.
absolute joke for them to say that that's what they call a cartel. Venezuela, this country that produces virtually no drugs, that has tons and tons of oil, but is not a drug-producing country, and there's almost no evidence that Maduro or his government are involved in, except the statement of a paid DEA informant and some other crappy low-level intelligence that they throw out. I mean, contrast that with what was going on in Afghanistan for 20 years, where Ahmed Wali Karzai, the president's half-brother, literally controlling the biggest opium market in the entire world, Kandahar. Just all of the drugs that were produced in the Helmand Valley going through there, all the money tracing easily to Ahmed Karzai's government. Drug flows starting to rise, so all of this all out. So, I mean, claim that they're cartel, these are not serious people, these are just propagandists. And for the most part, they don't have any premise and facts. And also are ignorant of ways So, that's one thing, but if you cut it into sort of one thing I never alleged is that the Special Forces as a military organization is dedicated to trafficking narcotics around the world. That's not happening.
Right.
And that wouldn't even make any sense. Why would they be doing that? People traffic drugs to make money.
And what are the special forces don't need money? They get all the money that they want from the government. But then if you cut it at a third lowest level, at the level of enlisted operators, units like Delta Force or Berets, is definitely a thing. Drugs is definitely a thing on these guys. How many of them were involved, it's hard to say, but I document case after case in my book, enough where I can say that, again, this is a thing that a lot of these guys do.
So, we're going to get into Venezuela. There's element, obviously, what's happening right now. Also, you just mentioned Afghanistan, and, it's such an amazing contrast, and I think it's kind of like a controlled experiment to see the way that the U.S. reacts to Afghanistan versus Venezuela. Because it's very clear it's not about drug production. But you talk about the drug trade in Afghanistan and involvement of the Delta team and other forces. You say the Afghan client state had functioned as the world's biggest drug cartel, responsible for producing at least 4/5 and more like 9/10 of all the heroin during the global opioid epidemic. Facing a certain wipeout by the Taliban, the infamous NATO protectorate was also deeply inculcated in child sex trafficking and roundly despised by the Afghan people, felt to pieces and dispersed. So can you elaborate on that, please?
I mean, I didn't even have time to get into the child sex trafficking in the book, but that's almost worse in some ways. Like this is another thing that was openly tolerated by the United States, and it's even worse than allowing them to pump heroin into our country and all over the world. The Bacha-Bazi, as it's called, boy play. Another thing that we're falsely told is just part of Afghan culture. It's not. And the Taliban, importantly, are totally opposed to this. And in fact, the Taliban's popularity in the 1990s first arrived back when they suppressed this practice, which, as far as I can tell, has no longer the basis in Afghanistan. I've read accounts from Afghan terms who know what they're talking about and say this is not part of our culture. What it is closely identified with are the warlords that the CIA funded and armed in the 1980s to fight the Soviet Union. So those guys were the ones who first made it a thing to collect prepubescent dancing boys,
losses and they're finished.
trade them with other men, and systematically rape them and keep them on their bases in chains as children. And they continued to do this during the entirety of the U.S. occupation. They were getting all their money and all their weapons from the United States, their political protection from the United States, air support from the United States, keeping child sex slaves on the bases created by this military partnership with the United States. And the U.S. knew about it the entire time. And not only did nothing to stop it, but also explicitly ordered U.S. forces to not interfere in the rape of children that took place on U.S. bases. There's a seminal New York Times article about, I believe his last name,
Nearly every sector is now secure.
He's a special forces captain who's came across a police commander, a prepubescent boy, a child, chained to his bed. He's so outraged by this the stuffing out of this Afghan commander. He just refused to be discharged from military discipline. And it is, again, specific U.S. policy communicated from the commander. There's also a documentary, maybe DW, I think, documentary on this, that interviews lots of NATO officers who all attest to this appalling fact.
All hostiles retreating. You've heard your rep today, no pants.
Blind eyes to rape children carried out by their Afghan allies on U.S. bases. And 1 month before the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan, the State Department finally issued a report saying, oh yeah, we're against this, we're against this experiment. So I only devote 2 sentences to that in my book, but this is another topic that, bears investigation.
So, the soldier for killing the person and the child chained to his bed.
No, that commander, I'm not sure what became of him, but I believe that he remained an important U.S. ally. He was a DW goes and interviews this guy. These are not only Argos, this is why I have to only ridicule these things of Maduro, because the Afghans he worked with were not only big Argos, but they were rapists in this sense. So GW interviewed, I believe it was the same people around the same commander, and they even had an audience. I believe it was the same commander. If it wasn't the same one, it doesn't really matter too much.
Comms blackout on the way.
The guys making jokes, laughing about it, you know, taking drugs, doing opium, smoking opium right in front of the camera crew. This is the democracy that we created in Afghanistan at a cost to U.S. taxpayers, I might add, of $1 trillion.
So, explain why the West was so intent on not disrupting, basically. I'm not saying that they were like part of this round group rape. I'm not saying that. Why did they do something like that? Why did they so systemically turn the line?
Seismic activity in British Columbia has damaged a Canadian-U.S. research facility base. A landslide has exposed the interior and damaged the surrounding area. The Russians wrongly allege that this has revealed a military weapon and are deploying forces onto Canadian soil to secure it. Not on my watch. Let's send Ivan home.
It almost makes me angry. I recently read a book by John Williams.
Capture Chester Foxtrot.
The enemy has secured more sectors than we have. Remember your orders.
They're out there. Enemy contact. Bring me a victory notepad.
Backtrack, even though they kept losing more ground because the allies that they were able to get that
Sector Bravo secure.
Destinies like that, and they all it's just it's
Seize the objective.
Yeah.
We're with you, squad leader.
Let's just play everything, bro. Yeah? Alright, we'll see. How old are you, bro? I'm 19 and you're...
Flag the hostage! Long distance! Hostile tag! Enemy in sight! Southeast!
What's our status?
We're pushing the Russians out. We're on schedule.
Troop by troop, they're paying a price. Keep it up. Sector Echo fully secured. We have secured both sectors. Defend them at all costs.
Give me cover fire! Enemy on radar! Due east!
Saw I was having a tough day, and I said I'm just having a tough day.
Hostile vehicle identified! Visual on hostiles! West! Resupply here! Many thanks! Secure the objective!
Watching your progress.
There's danger around every corner, and so they're just on guard, ready to trigger any moment.
Sector Echo is ours.
And it's all these 9 shorts and flip-flops. It's like, why, constant closed-toe shoes if you're gonna go be a cowboy, these things were so I wish the best to friends and also Dustin, because they needs to just sort of, like we're saying, previous person, calm down and take some deep breaths, and maybe you have to try all the time, assuming they're keeping your gun, because that's what creates scenarios where you think that's the case. It's not like refreshed UI. You choose a way to explore every element of your level. It's a visual identity. It's to eliminate.
Attack the threat! Go 50 meters!
Unite between transfer negotiation and slicing prison rather than shoes you can see. Using its face, elevate your land. Feedback,
be on your guard!
Watching your progress.
That soldier! 300 meters away!
It's clear and accessible, makes 9 minutes of detail that matters most to you easier than ever. Let's take a closer look. Up top, the redesigned nav bar covers your key areas of responsibility. Improvements to shaping your tactics to locking those last minute backstage angles.
Alpha objectives under control. Sector secure. We now control more sectors than them. Keep it up.
Every facet of a busy club, and that means plenty of messages, all via your time and attention. FM26's fresh portal system uses speed control, internal messages such as beyond just
lost troops and materials, down to 50%. Sector Charlie in enemy hands.
Enemy forces control the majority of sectors.
Access to clubs, players, coaches, and other areas of the game.
Sector Echo under enemy control.
Enemy infantry! Close to me! Fins out! Blocking their course!
Our troops have full control of Sector Delta.
Enemigo justo aquí! 150 meters! Tango there! Enemigo justo aquí!
Talking about an academy product that Liverpool have snatched from Manchester City. A wonder kid that Liverpool are keeping tabs on over.
We control more sectors than the enemy, but this battle is far from over.
Until then, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Drop a like on the video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Right, let's start the video.
Took them down!
Sector Bravo has been lost to the hostiles.
Player from Andy team who was demonstrated a real connection to the region of their club representing
On my position!
We captured all of Sector Charlie. Control of the sector.
Where Clara couldn't stand up, he had cramp in his legs, but I wouldn't want to be defensive with any field. Jimmy Carter is insanely lucky. So it's a straight out.
Seize the objective!
Keep us updated.
So, he made 7.
Meet for me! Frag coming in! Let's put...
After the Reds also signed centre-back Lucas Clark from Manchester City in March. It seems he's ready for the under-16. So, maybe some of you guys have more information on this guy, but certainly more information than I get.
That objective is ours! Moving!
Tag a few for us.
Also have just this year. Now, Santos obviously a very famous club in Brazil who brought through many great local teams. They say confidential.
Our troops just took Sector Foxtrot. We now control more sectors than them. Keep it up.
Yes, that one. It's probably a little bit matches versus the exciting 4-1. On the first team at the South Elbow Club, whose famous ex-players include Pelé, Neymar, and Waittrough, to name just three. And look, early days, lots of players have been inside this team, the best in world football.
Taking Sector Bravo.
Pedigree there, and Santos and Storm. Succeed, while Liverpool know they
just lost Sector Alpha to the enemy.
If they don't, Liverpool know if they move on in the future, it's healthy sell on there. So, probably initially,
Our enemy has conquered more sectors than us.
Let's go back to
Enemies on my radar! About 70 meters from you! Watching! Enemy equipment!
Absolutely did. Every time we went down to the pitch, left it all out there, but
well, that was loud! Taking hits in front! Hostile! Southwest!
We now hold more sectors than they do. Good work.
Maybe I'm thinking too much about this football. It's certainly, I'm certainly wishing it's something that I can
Support available. Call in if you need it.
Watching! Enemy equipment! Long distance! Hostile squad here! On my position! My word! Ten cuidado! I'm out! I don't need it!
But you know this. We can't keep lying to ourselves in yards, country. Every time a burst of public violence disrupts our illusion.
They're down to their last resources. Allied forces control Sector Echo.
Be on alert, please!
While celebrating a man who announced that our blues to constantly not violence. I take no joy in death.
Good work, Notepads. That was a hell of a fight.
On the 16th, President told us
Comms blackout on the way.
September 11th, 2025. It's 24 years since 9/11 happened in 2001. I remember where I was that morning. Do you? Can you believe there's an entire generation of people that have never known what it was like to have to live through that experience, to have to experience that terror that happened on September 11th? I want to make sure that even after all of the horror of Charlie Kirk's assassination yesterday, that we don't lose sight, that we must honor the memories of those victims of September 11th, those brave first responders and law enforcement that ran into the danger and got away. We also need to recognize that the survivors and the next of kin are still picking up the pieces of their lives after losing their loved ones on that day.
Intercept, ambush, execute.
That should always be lifted up. Always their memories should be honored. I hope that
We're shipping you out to Doha, Qatar. Extreme conditions have caused a mass evacuation. But reports say Russian troops are moving into seized trucks that got caught in the sand. We can't be sure what's inside them, but it's important enough to secure the area and prevent a Russian occupation. Expect plenty of resistance. Good hunting.
Now, 24 years later, we are actually even more divided than we were back then.
Attack the threat! Far away! Tango here! Disregard! No copy! Heavy assault! Grenade out! Tango there! 200 meters!
More sectors than us. We should counterattack.
But being a truth teller. To be fair, because I've always said that I traffic in facts and evidence, and I don't
about what happened yesterday. What is uncontroverted, people? Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was murdered.
Sector Bravo is secure.
Our forces take the positions of the enemy. This is how we defeat them.
Even know if it was a man or a woman, we don't know anything. So, in spite of that lack of information, what did Trump and others do yesterday? They decided to take to social media, the airwaves, and they decided to go after the entire group of liberals, Democrats, quote, leftists.
Sector Gulf has fallen to the hostiles.
I'm not going to be eating crow. If it ends up being somebody who's a Democrat, liberal, or whatever, that ended up screaming Charlie Kirk,
Our enemy just took Sector Foxtrot.
Tango spotted!
Our attack on Echo 1 has started.
Commissioner Mason says that officials have tracked the shooter's movements.
Sector Alpha has been taken by the enemy.
Jumped off the roof and fled to
Both sectors now occupied by hostiles.
They have now located this high-powered multi-action rifle approach.
Enemy has air support! 170 meters!
Has also led to clear impressions in already 4 armed units for analysis. Contact witnesses has been reported on cameras to be provided.
Tango here!
Not sure how big it may be possible.
Sounds like law enforcement is finally doing the job that it's supposed to be doing. Why do I use the word finally? Well, let's talk about Cash Patel.
Near me!
Report.
Timetable's off. We need to secure more territory.
We just took Sector Alpha.
He posted that 14 hours ago. That was right after Kirk was shot. Then 13 hours ago, I said an hour later, what did he have to do? He had to then post the following analysis.
We don't control enough sectors. We must fight harder.
Knocking down the enemy!
Top governor Spencer Fox said that he personally witnessed the custody of the to read off all this information about that.
Enemigo abatido!
Hostile spotted at Bravo 1.
Tango here! Ultimate! Be on alert! Visual
pushed us off Bravo 1. Got Sector Bravo.
To be able to service the interests of Donald Trump and his policies. What's relevant, especially to Utah, is the following. FBI leaders forced the resignation just last week of a decorated female Pakistani-American counterterrorism agent who was appointed in February to run the Salt Lake City field office. She is the second special
Over there!
charge.
Enemy has air support! 130 meters!
At least 18 special
Enemy
field offices across the country.
Enemies attacking Objective Gold 1.
Women.
Almost spent! I'm reloading!
One teammate decided to give up his nomination. So the FBI is getting rid of these opportunities. At a time when all Americans deserve to have and then, as we know, and I've covered here extensively here at the Kate Fake News channel, Department of Homeland Security official who's overseeing terrorism prevention, domestic terrorism, which is qualifying as being is a 2020-year-old college graduate expertise, intern at the Heritage Foundation, and pretty much has zero experience being able to run a multi-million-dollar agency. Thomas Fugazi.
Our troops are securing Foxtrot 1.
Yesterday, while all the headlines aired last week about Charlie Kirk having been shot and killed, the blessings were dropped by the president of the United States or members of the far-right like Hillary and others. 3 kids were shot in the Colorado school shooting yesterday. Discuss that. And yet, to be self-defended gunshot, 65, 2 other students were none of that was discussed by the president in his Oval Office address. In addition, what haven't we seen happen? Well, we haven't seen a lowering into half-staff of all flags.
Moving on that objective.
Keep us updated. Didn't get that full. Didn't get that full.
We are initiating an attack on Echo 1.
What I saw was providing to their let's talk about other jumps in the island. Miller, the wife of Stephen Miller, you know, the architect of all things bad. Katie Miller says liberals have blood on their hands. Nancy Mason blamed the killing of Charlie Kirk on Democrats. Sean Davis, the CEO and co-founder of the Federalist, posted on X.
They have control of Sector Echo.
Entire terrorist network that is terrorizing Christians in this nation
Enemy vehicle! 110 meters away!
Jesse Waters on Fox News says, once we see their own are at home, yes, political violence to tolerate. Anti-change players Civil War. A student life anti-abortion activist says, we all live in life comes. This is a new civil war, one that we must fight with love to restore a culture of life. The far-right Lives of TikTok Twitter account posts, "This is war" in all caps. A self-proclaimed Christian nationalist and feminist Joel Levin says the left will not stop until they are forced to fight power, keep power, and real power. Donald Trump.
Enemy armor here!
Now, another Christian version is the left must be destroyed. He says Democrats and the left must be crushed. The goal for Republicans in the next 10 years shouldn't be just to win elections, but to destroy the Democrat Party entirely. Insulted that Christopher Rufo, Jennifer Fuller, and Bruce last year about political state of racial violence and terror, and the shredded all talent and diversity. It's time to move on by the law to infiltrate, disrupt, arrest, and incarcerate all those who stop.
60 meters away from me!
Right yesterday, was Donald J. Wilson, tracking some of his office tell Americans that Paris, California,
Allied forces now holding Sector Delta. One of our objectives is under attack.
Enemy tank sighted! North!
Allied forces depleted.
Seize the objective!
Good luck, squad leader.
Watch out, my marker! Northeast!
Common sense gun legislation has gone out. Just yesterday, Ron DeSantis and Georgia celebrated the idea that it was okay to get
Sandstorm is cutting off our visuals. Be careful while moving it to engage.
Weather shifting fast! Moving on that objective!
We're with you, squad leader. Echo 1 is being secured. You are overwhelmed. We must take our losses and retreat while we still can.
We cannot take that. We cannot make it to News. Katie Fang here. We launched the Katie Fang News channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network, so we can bring you the latest legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.
Lasco's fine. No titles needed.